Xavi's Barca did excellently last season by winning the Supercopa de España as well as La Liga. But this season, teams will be able to prepare more and better for Xavi's team because there will be more content out on his tactics and research would have to be done or will be done on Barca. In this video, we'll be taking a look at how Barca can improve by improvising some tactics, change some tactics, and do some of the tactics better than we did last season. But before we get into that, please do consider subscribing to the channel, as that will be helping us a lot in building this channel. If you're a Barca fan, we do a lot of tactical content regarding Barcelona as well also news. Let's get into the video. At the time of making this video, this is the best 11 that we have. By the time I was making the video, Gundogan and Inigo Martinez was the only signings that Barca have made. However, the first tactic that I think would be really great for Barca would be a higher line. I think Barcelona needs to have a much higher line to push the opposition back into their own half, to make them suffocate in their own half. Now, I know what you would think in behind of that line. However, I don't think that would be a problem because I think we need to teach Ter Stegen how to do sweeping, because if the ball comes over, then he would easily get the ball. Now, this would be very risky against the bigger teams as well, but Barcelona needs to have some confidence, because in order for teams to be able to exploit this high line, that means that they would have to be very, very accurate in getting their wingers in behind. So I think Barcelona needs to have a much, much higher line, and also the sweeping of Ter Stegen, because I think Ter Stegen is good at goalkeeping, he's good at his feet, but I think for him to go to a next level, he needs to be able to do this sweeping that I was just talking about. So the first tactic I would improvise and want Barca to do better would be to have a much, much higher line, as well as Ter Stegen doing some sweeping. I think the next move for Xavi would be to have one of his centre backs, just like Pep Guardiola was doing. I know this is copying, but I think this is a great way to overlook the midfield early in the build-up phase, right? So I don't think that Araujo will be the perfect player for this. I think Christensen is much better on the ball. But then again, if Christensen would have to go into the midfield, then Balde would have to stay back, which I don't think is the greatest of ideas, right? So let Araujo and Frenkie de Jong invert into midfield and be like a pivot, which will allow Pedri and Gundogan to go up higher. And this will also allow those two guys, the free aides, to be able to pin back the midfielders of the opposition, especially with Marc-Andre Ter Stegen being so great on the ball, right? And there will really be nobody picking him up. This is how you can easily create overloads, with Gundogan and Pedri pinning the two other midfielders. And then also Frenkie de Jong and Araujo now can create these 2 versus 1s in these regions right over here. So that will be a great way for Barca to able to improvise building up, and this means that we wouldn't need a double pivot. Another tactic that I don't really like, which is sometimes it's working, but for the most part I don't like it when Xavi is inverting into the midfield, playing on the left wing. I think that Barcelona should really consider, or Xavi should consider, the inverted fullback. If you don't want Araujo or Christensen to invert into midfield as centre backs, I want Xavi to go back to the inverted fullback. And I think the best one is Balde. Balde. And I know people think that, Balde's passing is not so good and stuff like that. But I think these guys are every day on the training field. They are training every day. So the passing of Balde can be improved, because ultimately we're going to talk about the Xavi tactic now. Because ultimately, if you have a midfielder inverting from the wing, that brings your amount of shots that you take per game, that brings it down massively. And I don't really think that Balde is really good at being the like a winger on that side, where he's the one keeping the width, where he's the one, because that is a great tactic for somebody like Alphonso Davies or even Jordi Alba, like Zinchenko. Those are great guys that are great at attacking. And I don't think Balde is at that level yet. So going back to the inverted fullback, that will be a great tactic for Barca, which means we can pick another winger at the left wing. One of the tactics that I feel should really change this season is the positioning of Frenkie de Jong. Last season he was playing a lot deeper because Gundogan was playing in this position. Not Gundogan, excuse me, Sergio Busquets. So this season, I don't think really there's nobody that we need to protect defensively. So I think Frankie de Jong needs to start competing to be a free eight. If we can get a pivot that is good on the ball, it will be actually great. So nobody will be having to protect that pivot. And also if we can have the inverted fullback, that would make Frankie better creatively and also attacking wise, because I feel like the fact that Sergio Busquets had to be protected, that also gave Frankie his game time. But I think Frankie, Gavi and Pedri and Gundogan should be competing for that free eight position, which is going to make us much better, because many a times this is also why Gavi had to invert, because Frankie was playing very deep. So Frankie can also share the pivot position with that pivot if we sign anyone. There's Eric Garcia as well. So the competition in the midfield, this is particularly not a tactic, but I think the competition, something that should be changed, is the fact that we are protecting other players within the squad. Sergio Busquets is not there anymore, so I think Frankie de Jong needs to really be competing for these free eight positions. This is going to make Barcelona much more unpredictable because people are not used to seeing Frankie so high up the pitch, all the time. Most of the time he's back with Sergio Busquets dribbling from deep. If we can find the pivot, then that would not be necessary anymore, and then we would have some competition, which ultimately means that the players will be getting better. And this is also what Gundogan is used to at Manchester City, competing with other players for these positions. And we also even have Gundogan that can play in the pivot position, that has been playing there. Maybe he doesn't enjoy it, but for the most part, he did play there when he was asked to. Another tactic that we just talked about previously in the video is the fact that Gavi had to invert, which I don't think it's necessary anymore, because Frankie de Jong had to go deep, for an example, to be able to form a pivot with Sergio Busquets. So therefore he had to invert, which allowed Balde to go much more forward. Now my problem with this is Gavi, I know there's Fati right now, but just imagine that this is Gavi. Gavi is somebody that has a low shot at goal percentage. He's not really shooting at goal, where he gets the ball in the position where he's shooting or whatever. Balde is going to shoot even less. So the shots really is coming from Pedri, Lewandowski, and Rafinha, and sometimes maybe even Frankie. So, and that is all coming mainly from this left side. And this is the problem that I have with playing Gavi there. Our shoot percentage is much less. Now, I cannot blame Xavi for doing this, because, you have Ferran Torres and Ansu Fati, guys that isn't really coming up and making those positions their own. But like I said, that doesn't change the fact that we have a much lower percentage when Gavi is playing at that level or at that position, on left wing. That is why I say we must go back to the inverted fullback, where the winger stays, Balde inverts, and then we have through free eights. Then we can still have this box in midfield that everybody is craving for, that everybody is trying to do. So I think we should let Gavi also then compete for the free eight position, Let Ferran Torres and Fati, let them play, let them gain experience, let them gain confidence. Give these guys the opportunities, and let Fati and Ferran Torres play against each and be in competition with each other. Playing Gavi there while having these two guys, I don't think it needs to be done this season, and Xavi needs to change that ASAP. And then another tactic I have a problem with is the fact that Barcelona wants to play through these areas. Now, Pedri and Frankie and Gavi, these guys were our best players, so the ball was mainly centrally, right? We never really had people that was played in this area to get onto the byline where they would cross the ball onto Lewandowski, The fact that Lewandowski scored 30 plus goals is amazing, because we never really had crosses coming in like it used to. And if you look at the team like City, that's the tiki-taka way. We need to get players into the byline over here and attack these spaces. The only player I've seen really get like crosses in is like Rafinha, but that is from this position where he was crossing the ball to the far post, But like I said, we need to attack and get our wingers in these areas so that they really can cross the ball into these areas and attack them. Now that we have Gundogan, ultimately when the players are in the byline, people are running, trying to overload the box. We have Lewandowski, we have Pedri, but then we need to have like late arrivals like Frenkie de Jong, where the ball can literally come onto him and then we can have a goal. So attacking the byline is something that we really need. It's very, very important because that's the tiki-taka way. You remember the Messis, the Villas, and all of these guys. Those guys were on point. They were on fire, and they were attacking these areas. We need to have our wingers going to that area. The only one really I can think of is Dembele that tries to go in there and put in a go cross. So attacking the byline is something that we really need this upcoming season. Another tactic that I haven't really seen much in Barca for the last like 5-6 years, since Luis Enrique, or even before that, Ernesto Valverde, Ronald Koeman, and all of these guys, Quique Setien, is that pass into the half space. This instance where the Barca is dragging the opposition all to like one side, and then we try to ultimately change the direction of the play, where the ball is maybe like here with Frenkie or Balde, where Rafinha like stays wide and the free 8 is running into the gap here where he would really get into these areas. I think Arsenal is doing this a lot. I need that pass into the half space, because what Xavi is trying to do is when he's trying to drag the opposition to one side is like Pedri would be high up here and then it's closed, so the opposition trying to keep a back line. And then the ball goes straight from this side over to Rafinha. This is kind of predictable, and Rafinha has figured a way out. So this is when the time when he's crossing the ball over into the box. But now, when this happens, the opposition can prepare better for it, I just think that if we just switch that and change that where Rafinha stays wide and then Pedri makes like a late run into this area where he would literally receive the ball and then try to shoot or try to get the ball to cross to Lewandowski or whatever, But just that pass into the half space when we drag the opposition to one side, just that one pass into the half space. Because people expect the ball to go to Rafinha. That's why they stay narrow, If Rafinha stays wide, if Pedri or Gundogan or whoever can make like a late run into the half space, and even if he can make that late run and then the fullback closes him, then the ball can straight go from here, go to Rafinha, and Rafinha can attack, This is why Dembele is a better fit for me on the left wing than Rafinha, because how would Rafinha cross in this instance? He would have to turn back and then cross, whereas Dembele can just have it first time. So that is the tactics that I think Barcelona should seriously consider reconstructing, That will be all for this video. If you have some comments that you want to leave down in the comment section, please do so. And also, if there's some tactics that you want to discuss, comment tactic and tell me what we should be looking at in the next video. If you also have some video ideas, stuff that you want to look at, please do also drop that in the comment section below. And please like and subscribe if you're new around here. We do content like this on a weekly basis. A lot of content is coming this coming season, and as well as every week, Also, I want to thank each and every one of you guys who have been supporting me. You've really taught me how to be patient. This is now almost 2 years that this channel have been going, and we're about to hit 900 subscribers. Thank you very much for that. Goodbye.